This is Kyle Delaney here to tell you about the first 10 days of my Mexico trip. And I'm starting off with a screenshot from my phone. This is in Duolingo. I unlocked 184 new stories all at once. How did I do it? I skipped to the end and took the last test, which might be considered cheating, but I had to do it many, many times in order to succeed, which may give a false impression of how good I am at Spanish. So I've unlocked all the lessons, but I don't really know everything from all those lessons. And some people say, oh, you find lots of people who speak English in Mexico, but this was not the experience for me. I found very few people who spoke English in Mexico, so I had plenty of opportunities to practice my Spanish skills. And this is a picture of some of the best enchiladas I ever had. I passed through the border from Eagle Pass, Texas, into Piedras Negras, which is a town. It's a border town in Coahuila, which is kind of an awkward place to enter Mexico in an RV. It's kind of an RV dead zone. There's no RV parks for 1,000 miles. It's yeah, it's kind of the wrong way to do it. So I was doing everything wrong, but worked out in the end, and I got some great enchiladas, uh, and was trying and failing to speak Spanish. But the person who ran this little restaurant out of his home was more than happy to chat away while I just smiled and nodded and ate. And he had me film a little video advertisement for him. He wanted me to speak in English while he recorded a video on his phone. When I asked to use the bathroom, I was thinking, oh, it's a restaurant. It has a bathroom. I go to the back room and there's like a bed back there. So I'm like, oh, this is really just somebody's home here. Um, but yeah, I I pulled through in the end. And okay, so this in Piedras Negras, I took this panorama view here of a cemetery. Now, I was I was amazed. I saw from the outside the cemetery was walled off, but I saw like the gate and everything was all flowery, and I was like, "What is this?" Um, so yeah, this does not kind of look like the cemeteries I'm familiar with in the US. This is, they got cemeteries looking like theme parks down there. It's like I don't know, I expect cemeteries to be sort of somber, right? Like Gimli said, you'd find more cheer in a graveyard. Well, you would find more cheer in a graveyard if you went to Mexico for sure. It's it's like they kind of handle death differently here, I guess. It's like something to be I don't know if they celebrate death, but they have celebrations around it, and it's just kind of like a different attitude. Everything is sort of joyful and pretty here. Um, that tree's looking pretty dead too, but yeah, I took two panoramas as I took a little walk through this graveyard. I wanted to check things out, and of course, just driving down the road, I see some chickens and stuff, and thought that's pretty cool. Just seeing some chickens hanging out. I know you have chickens in the U.S. too, but I thought these chickens were cool. And of course, in Mexico, you can get Kinder Surprise, Kinder Sorpresa, which famously is unavailable in the U.S. Um, I'm not quite sure why I took this photo. I think it was just to show off the landscape as I drove through Mexico and, ended up at a stoplight. I passed by a lot of cool stuff while I was in the car that I just could not get a picture of because I was driving and I'm by myself, and it's kind of hard to document my journey while I'm trying to drive. So here's just an example of the kind of landscape I passed through. But I saw a lot of cool stuff on the way that I was not able to photograph. So this was an interesting restaurant. I could not tell it was a restaurant. I went inside and was very confused because this did not look like a restaurant. This looked more like a bridge club or something. But I had to ask them, like, is this a restaurant? I don't understand. Like, oh yeah, yeah, here's a menu. Um, so I ordered some food and they bring out some chips and salsa and stuff, but also like this plate of what looks like cocaine. It's like looked like a fine white powder, but as soon as I started dipping into it, I could see that it sort of compressed into a more solid form, and at that point I could tell it was cheese and not in fact a solid white powder. And also in addition to the tortilla chips, they give you chicharron, chicharron, chicharrones. Um, it's like chips, but it's pig skin or something. Anyway, there's just a whole bunch of it, and they brought out my food, and I think I took this picture to show that it is quite a lot of food. This is a chile poblano, yeah, poblano, chile poblano, chile poblano, and a quesadilla, and that looks like it might be guacamole, but it's actually just avocado. It's quite good. I like avocados. But anyway, of course, I had to ask for a box to take this with me, and that was a very difficult point to get across. Like they didn't understand to go boxes, and every time I try to ask the simplest thing, it's just a hassle, just an ordeal. And so they always make it super complicated and need to ask a lot of clarifying questions. And I'm like, I don't know why you need so much clarification. I thought I thought I was requesting something simple, um, but they're like trying to give me like choices. And finally, I realize why, because they bring out not a to-go box for me to put my food in, but they bring out a bag of more chicharrones. So it's like, oh yeah, of course, what I was actually asking for was more food. Like this wasn't enough. So I tried to visit some pyramids. I was driving down the road and I see a sign that looks like some Aztec pyramids, but it's like, one of those stick figure signs. It's like monochrome. It's like just white blocks on sort of a blue background. It's very simplistic drawing, but it's unmistakable that this is looking like some, American pyramids. And is that what it looks like? I was really intrigued. So finally I was like, oh yeah, they just have like normal road signs advertising these archaeological sites. So I went down the road and it was indeed closed, like Google Maps said. I don't know. I guess they like open it on the weekends or something for people. But yeah, I was not able to have a look. But I took a few photos just from the road. If you can't tell that those are ancient ruins, well, neither can I. These are not good photos. It's just from too far away. But at some point, I reached this cool little archway that I wanted to go through. It's looking like a little wonderland here. I don't think it comes across in the photo, but yeah, I thought this was like a neat little thing. I could just, go for a short walk along. Um, yeah, lots of cool little towns in Mexico, and they all have like very artsy sort of signs with the names of the towns that are, made in huge like sculpture letters and stuff. And I guess I didn't really get a picture of that. But I did want to get a picture of, or a screenshot of Google Maps showing the sort of windy mountain road I was taking to get to a campsite near Guadalajara. This is me approaching Guadalajara, looking like intestines out there. Um, and this was the campsite. It's called Bosque de la Primavera, which means forest of the spring. But actually, it's not the forest of the spring because La Primavera is just the name of the town that's nearby. So it's just the forest of that town. There's nothing spring about this forest. But there was a campsite dog. So to explain, the dogs in Mexico are not what I'm used to. I see like just feral dogs, wild dogs. They don't look mangy or anything. They look like, normal dogs. Like somebody might own them, but they don't have collars and stuff. You can see this one it looks very clean. but they behave differently from what I'm used to. They are not interested in me at all. I see a dog walking by, and he doesn't try to avoid me. He doesn't try to come near me. He's just like walking by. He's got things to do. Just totally uninterested. Um, but this dog was an exception. This dog was very interested. So I let him into my truck for a little photo shoot here. Um, of course, I should have realized this dog would not want to leave. He would want to come with me. So it was heartbreaking. I had to throw this dog just out of my vehicle because just putting him down gently, he would like jump back up. He would jump into my arms. He would give me kisses, hugs and kisses. So yeah, this was heartbreaking having to say goodbye to this puppy. Um, but near the campsite there was a circus of all things, and I thought, well, I don't know if I've ever seen like a circus performance that wasn't like Cirque du Soleil or something. Just a normal circus. There's a big old circus tent, and so this MC guy comes out and he's like being heckled by a plant in the audience who's like this hobo clown, and here we can see the hobo clown being escorted out right in front of me. But then he ends up on stage and they're doing their little routine in Spanish that I can't understand. And the next act is a contortionist um, who is like in this sort of bodysuit that kind of looks like what I might not expect in a children's show, but it is indeed for little kids. Like me, I as an adult did not get a lot out of it. You can see seems to be some kind of Little Red Riding Hood costume act. But yeah, and then in their final act, the MC and the hobo clown, um, they change costumes and they look like musicians of some sort. And here the hobo clown has grabbed a child out of the audience and is swinging him around, which I guess the kids are into. Yeah, that's what they're here for. And this is a picture of the outside. You can see there's like a wall, and beyond the wall, there's like the tent and everything, and all these bright lights are what attracted me to the circus to begin with. I was like, what is going on? What are all these lights? What what's going on all the way out here in the woods in this small town and like there's some kind of show or what? I also saw some RVs parked here, which is kind of a rarity in Mexico. It was like not a lot of people have RVs, so I was like, oh, these are my people maybe. And the dog is back the next day, but he's no longer interested in me. Probably, you know, I prob I probably left a bad impression on him. But he's okay, I think. And I explored a mall in Guadalajara, and I noticed there was this sort of gaming store sign in English. And seeing Magic the Gathering in Mexico, that I thought deserved a photo. And so this is an interesting thing. It's a huge pedestrian bridge, a pedestrian walkway like that goes over the road. I've been seeing these all over Mexico, and this is the first time I was like stopped to actually be able to take a picture. But it's surreal because I see these huge, like state of the art, maybe even futuristic sometimes looking structures that look so out of place in these small towns full of like dilapidated shacks and stuff. And it's clearly this is not an undertaking paid for by the town. Probably either the state or federal government of Mexico. Because yeah, people drive so dangerously, and there's not the same sort of rules of the road enforcement like we have in the states. Maybe I don't know, but there's all of these super dangerous speed bumps, which I was warned about, and I hear topes, and I'm like, well, I've had speed bumps before, It's like I'm prepared for that. Well, no, not like this. I mean, these are speed bumps on the highway, and sometimes they're marked, but sometimes they're not. Like very often, I have not seen a speed bump until it was too late, and I was just going much too fast, and it just feels awful. But they do that kind of thing because it's like, they know that people are going to drive as dangerously as they possibly can, so they got to work with that somehow and slow them down somehow. But anyway, yeah, these pedestrian walkways supposedly keep pedestrians stay safe, and this was my opportunity to walk across one of them. So I kept thinking they looked cool, so I wanted to walk across one, and I walked all the way to the other side while eating a something like a Dairy Queen Blizzard, but it was from the Home Depot. Um, and here is a nice campground. You can see the view to all the towns and cities below, and Guadalajara is probably somewhere in the distance. But also, I want to point out that there are no clouds in the sky, which is pretty typical for my experience in Mexico. And here's some more food that I got, and it was very nice. I asked for some huevos rancheros, and this is what I got. And of course, it was too much food again, so I had to take it with me. Um, and because all the food is like so dang cheap in Mexico in restaurants, I'm always trying to tip generously. But like, I don't know if my Spanish is good enough to explain the concept of a tip, and it's surprisingly difficult to just give people money. Like they don't want it. They're just confused. And I'm like, well, if my Spanish isn't good enough to get you to accept this money, sometimes I just can't. I can't give them money, even though I want to. Um, but outside this restaurant, this is another strange thing that happens in Mexico is, people just park with no concern for who they might be blocking. So amazingly, this this truck is parked. Uh, th- this photo makes it look like he's parked right in the highway lane, but he actually did park just right alongside the highway. Um, and he parked really just perfectly to block off the whole parking lot that I was in. And you can see that the entrance to the parking lot is quite large, but he managed to just block off the whole thing anyway. And I was thinking, oh boy, I'm kind of trapped here. Um, but eventually I got to a nice sort of boondocking site and decided to take a nice walk to indulge myself. And unfortunately, I got a very bad sunburn on my scalp that is going to be hurting for a while. But I thought I would like to take a photo of these cacti, these cactuses that look sort of exactly like what you might expect to see in Mexico. This is kind of a weird photo. I saw a sort of spider web with some like cocoon-like things where I guess a spider had caught something and wrapped it up in its web. You can see like two of them here, and it looks like it caught something kind of big, or twice maybe. I don't know. Um, I just thought these were some cool rocks that I saw on my walk, and also at one point I walked up to the highway, and there was a nice bridge uh, across it. So I got a nice panorama here, and because I thought this was pretty cool, being able to see over the highway. And this bridge is actually a road, like a vehicle could get across it, but I think it's mostly probably used by horses because I would not want to take a vehicle across this. It's a pretty rough terrain getting up to the bridge. Um, but I did see some domestic horses. There was a man riding a horse and sort of pulling another horse along with him. Right after I took this photo, he was coming across the bridge. And also, I wanted to congratulate these cows because they are outstanding in their field. And this is just a sort of photo of the path as I was walking along some rough terrain of the rough dirt road. I decided to get even rougher and go off the road and sort of walk up the hill. So I hope this photo might give a sense of adventure. And here I am ascending into the hills, kind of taking a shortcut to my destination, which were some hot springs that I was trying to get to, which I could have just kept on the dirt road, but I I'm an explorer and I wanted to go exploring. And here is a very nice cactus that looks kind of like the typical cactus you might imagine, with like a lot of vertical branches kind of coming out of the trunk. But this is quite a lot. This is a huge old cluster of a cactus. And as I was walking, I was taking more photos. Um, this is sort of a view back down. You can see the lake, the big old lake that I was nearby. And looking up, I could see what looked like some painted rocks that I was trying to get to, but it was difficult because there are a lot of these thorn bushes in my way. Everything was thorny out here, big spikes, and I was like, "Oh, these are gonna stab me if I try to go right through some thorn bushes." It felt like an adventure game where you need to find the right item to cut through it, and the path is blocked until you get it. Uh, and I thought this was a pretty cool photo opportunity of a nice lone tree at the top of the hill I was climbing. And here are what look like they might be wild horses. I was told that there were wild horses um, at this or in the sort of area that I was camping in, and I saw some domestic horses, and I was thinking, oh, maybe that's what they were talking about. But no, these horses seem to be roaming pretty free. And here's a nice photo of the landscape. I think there might be some birds up there. And finally, I ascended all the way high enough to get a close look at what was coloring the rocks. And it's some kind of moss or fungus or something. You see it comes in a yellow variety and a sort of orange-brown variety. And finally, I reached the top. And the tippy top, I was standing up there and I was like, I do not want to take a panorama because I did not feel stable enough. So I sat down and took this panorama shot from my vantage point, because you can see the town down below and the lake and just a lot of cool stuff. And this is sort of my descent. So I was carrying a day bag with me, not a backpack, and I left it down here because I knew I would have to do some tough climbing and I didn't want to be holding something. You can't really tell from the perspective in this photo, but this is quite a steep climb down, and it did not go well. So this is a plant that has evolved just to fuck with me. You can see that it's stuck into me so much that it was able to hold its grip even as it was hanging, directly below my hand there. And there are four more that are stuck into my butt. Well, they didn't actually stick into my skin; it was just my clothes. But you can't really pull them off without stabbing yourself. There's really no way to get a grip on one of those needles without getting poked on more needles. Uh, so I guess some plants they spread their seeds by just having delicious fruit to eat, but some plants just gotta hitch a ride. These are like the burrs from hell. And I took a photo of what I think was the cactus that these little seed pod things came from, so that I know I can avoid these things in the future. And here's the town down below as I'm descending to it, looking for those hot springs. And I reached another peak and wanted to take another panorama here. Um, there is a cross you can see up on a hill, and when I approached the cross, I noticed that there were some nails, some quite large nails sticking out of it. So I wonder if maybe somebody was nailed to it at some point. And in contrast to the arid environment, I noticed some tiny purple flowers that I wanted to get a photo of. And here, I just wanted you to be able to hear how loud, uh, how loud the animals were. This was this was a very noisy town. Very noisy town. Um, Dogs and birds and everything just making noise. And when I reached the bottom, the first building as I was entering town was this sort of church, and I finally realized, oh, this is like dilapidated. I can't imagine this is still in use. Finally, I got to the hot springs, and it was like this concrete bathtub, and I was filling it up with their hot water and trying to relax. But I keep hearing people just like talking outside the door, and this whole structure is so echoey that it sounds like they're right outside and talking directly at me. And I have this anxiety, and it makes it impossible to relax when I think there's some people are talking outside at me or they need something. Like when I'm trying to sleep in my RV and there's people around, I always think, oh no, they're going to ask me to move. I've done something wrong. And once my fears actually did come true because the cops showed up and got me to move. But it's always like, oh, I hear voices outside, like they say, oh, I hear somebody moving in there. It's like, oh God, they're talking about me. They're out to get me. Um, but in this case, I put my towel on and I opened the door because I had heard like a man and a woman like talking outside. It's like, do they need something from me? I'm like, what do you need? And it's just this guy sitting there. He's clearly not standing outside my door trying to get my attention. So I'm like, oh, okay. I guess if somebody's gonna need my attention, they'll probably knock. So, so I was able to just relax after that, trying to relax in the bathtub, not worrying about any voices I heard out there. And this was actually a photo taken in the dark. My phone thought I needed flash, so I turned the flash off to get this better quality photo. But as I was leaving, I noticed there was a light switch, and I just had not noticed that. But it's fine because I didn't want the light on anyway. And I just thought this barbershop sign was cool. But as I was walking through this town, you know, everything was just closed doors, locked doors everywhere. Nothing seemed like it was open. There were probably a lot of residences, but just businesses mixed in there. There was a shop that I walked into, but like the lights were off, and it was just these people standing there like they were waiting for me to leave, like I was intruding. I was like, what is going on with this town? I don't understand. But I was trying to do some exploring. And I took this photo because I noticed some very fluffy clouds since I guess I guess clouds can form in this region because I was by a lake. And here's a sort of nice fork in the road as I could go left or right. And I could see this cactus in this nice fenced off field. And as I was walking by all these farms and stuff, I noticed this very nice sort of handmade gate made out of sticks. And here's a nice pile of hay, I guess, that I saw from a distance and couldn't tell what it was. Looked like some kind of huge boulder or something. And here's a cool tunnel I found on my walk. And finally, as I was descending back to my campsite, I wanted to take a nice photo of the lake that I saw beneath me. And that's the last one. So, thanks for watching.